The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher, and we have, of course, all of your recall results and all of that news to get to.
All right, Kat, thanks so much. 5:02 is your time now, and 17 News is your local election headquarters. Some might call it the recall that wasn't. NBC News and the Associated Press both projecting this morning that California Governor Gavin Newsom has defeated an attempt to remove him from office.
Frustration with COVID-19 restrictions helped recall organizers gather the roughly 1.5 million signatures they needed to force the vote. But in the end, the state's Democrats showed up in droves to back Governor Newsom. He thanked them for their support in a late-night speech. Take a listen.
And so I'm humbled and grateful to the millions and millions of Californians that exercise their fundamental right to vote and express themselves so overwhelmingly by rejecting the division, by rejecting the cynicism, by rejecting so much of the negativity that's defined our politics in this country over the course of so many years. Democracy is not a football. You don't throw it around. It's more like a, I don't know, antique vase. You can drop it and smash it in a million different pieces. And that's what we're capable of doing if we don't stand up to meet the moment and push back.
Some Republicans have already begun to show seeds of doubt about the integrity of the vote, with former President Donald Trump calling the vote rigged, and Newsom's top contender, Larry Elder's campaign, promoting a website that claimed it had found fraud in the results before any vote returns were even released.
Elder himself spoke for about an hour after Governor Newsom regarding that last night's projected results. Despite flirting with claims of potential election fraud during the campaign, Elder last night seemingly admitted defeat and urged his followers to stay invested in future elections.
As you know, my opponent, Governor Gavin Newsom, come on, let's be gracious. Let's be gracious in defeat. And by the way, we may have lost the battle, but we are going to win the war.
Newsom is now the second governor in U.S. history to survive a recall election. National Democrats hope the race can be a model for next year's midterm elections, since their party typically has a hard time motivating their voters in non-presidential races.
And here's a look at statewide results this morning, and you can see 35% of voters across California voting yes on the recall, but a vast majority of voters, 64% of them, voting no.
Had the recall been successful, there was a large list of candidates vying for a spot to replace Governor Newsom. The top vote getter statewide, as you can see here, Larry Elder with 46%, followed not closely at all by Democrat Kevin Paffrath, Republican Kevin Faulkner, and Brandon Ross, another Democratic candidate.
Now let's look at some Kern County numbers, and it looks as though things had flipped compared to the rest of the state. 58% of people here in Kern County who voted in the recall election voted yes to recall Governor Gavin Newsom. 41% of voters said no.
In Kern County, the top vote getter for question 2, who would you want to replace Newsom if he was recalled? Larry Elder, again, received the top number of votes with 63%, followed by John Cox, then Kevin Faulkner, and Democrat Kevin Paffrath.
And while the governor defeated the recall election by a wide margin on a statewide level, the latest numbers show a majority of Kern voters wanted to kick Newsom out of office. 17's Moses Small heard from voters on both sides of the aisle yesterday and joins us live this morning from the county's elections office with more. Moses, good morning.
Alex, good morning. It was a long night for voters around the county, gritting their teeth at the question, will Governor Newsom be kicked out of office? Both parties focusing most of their attention on the pandemic. Kern County Democrats cheering as NBC News and the Associated Press report the recall effort against Governor Gavin Newsom has failed. Many who voted no say they support the way the governor has handled the pandemic.
For the whole state, we can hopefully see less deaths, less COVID. He's mandated the mask for our protection, our safety, and we're going to beat this pandemic.
This comes as Kern County faces yet another wave of COVID-19 infections. The most recent state data says the local COVID test positivity rate more than doubles the state's average.
That means that we need to have mandates for masks. We need to increase our numbers of vaccinated Californians, and I think the governor had started on that course already.
But not everyone agrees. The latest data says a majority of Kern residents voted yes on the recall effort, many blasting the governor's pandemic response.
Families are struggling. We have millions of Californians, small, hard-working families who have lost their jobs due to government shutdowns initiated by the stroke of a pen by this governor.
Also, I think the extended shutdowns, longer than a lot of his other Democratic governors' peers, just prolong the economic suffering that so many people were experiencing.
Some voters supporting the recall say they don't believe the governor has done enough to tackle issues like wildfires and criminal justice.
What we've seen with Governor Newsom is a repeat of many of these failed policies, the highest tax rate in the country. People are just unhappy. Homelessness, crime, all these things that have skyrocketed under Governor Newsom.
Meanwhile, many who wanted to keep Newsom in office say his opponents would mishandle state laws.
We're seeing a lot of Democrats turn out. The fear of someone like Larry Elder, someone that wants the minimum wage to be zero, someone who is anti-choice, someone who is against the progressive values that California champions.
It's important to note that votes are still being counted around the state, but the margin is wide enough to make most political analysts confident in Newsom's projected win. At the county elections office, Moses Small, 17 News.
In Kern County, every ballot cast last night made its way to the elections office in downtown Bakersfield. But compared to the number of registered voters, those votes were few and far between. 17's Chris Burton has more.
Last night was a late one for Kern County Clerk Mary Bedard, just like it is every election night. Hours after multiple media outlets called the race in favor of Governor Gavin Newsom, Bedard and other elections officials continued to count ballots.
It'll probably be until about 1 before we get Ridgecrest in. I mean, that's the biggest thing is how long it takes to get the ballots in from the various sites. So usually it takes that long to get Ridgecrest in.
Barriers and lines were set up outside in advance of Election Day Tuesday. By and large, they weren't needed. Multiple officials said voter turnout was lighter than expected at the elections office, and it seems to be the same story across the county. As of 1 a.m. this morning, votes counted by elections officials represent just 20% of registered voters in Kern County. It's one of the lowest county percentages in this election in the state, although there are still ballots to be counted, including mail-in ballots sent out on Election Day. Bedard reserved judgment on voter turnout last night.
We have our first results. That's all we posted, which is all vote by mail. We don't really know what the turnout was today, so it's hard to say.
27% of ballots mailed to registered voters in Kern County were returned before Election Day, though that number too represents one of the lowest county totals in the state. Chris Burton, 17 News.
Meantime, the California legislature's 2 election committee chairmen are set to speak about plans to reform the gubernatorial recall process here in California. Democratic Assemblymember Mark Berman of Menlo Park and Democratic Senator Steve Glazer of Contra Costa described the current recall system as broken and say changes must be made to make it more difficult to recall a sitting governor. 17 News is your local election headquarters, and California has spoken. If you're just waking up with us this morning, Governor Gavin Newsom is still the governor of California.
NBC News and the Associated Press are both projecting Newsom as the winner of the recall election after more than 60% of Californians voted to keep him in office. Both Newsom and Republican frontrunner Larry Elder took the stage last night to thank their supporters.
We said yes to all those things that we hold dear as Californians, and I would argue as Americans: economic justice, social justice, racial justice, environmental justice, our values where California's made so much progress. All of those things were on the ballot this evening.
You all got my love, and I love you so much. And I must tell you, I have been overwhelmed by the support. as a former radio host, let me just say this. Stay tuned. God bless you.
Here in Bakersfield, multiple officials said voter turnout was lighter than expected at the elections office, and it seems to be the same story across the county. Votes counted by elections officials this morning represent just 20% of registered voters in Kern County. That is one of the lowest county percentages in this election in the state, although there are still ballots to be counted, including mail-in ballots sent out yesterday.
While the governor defeated the recall election by a wide margin on a statewide level, the latest numbers show a majority of Kern voters wanted to kick Newsom out of office. 17's Moses Small heard from voters on both sides of the aisle yesterday, and he joins us from the county election office this morning with more on what he heard. Moses.
Maddie, good morning. It was certainly a long night for voters around the county. Everyone wondering, will Governor Gavin Newsom be kicked out of office? Now, both parties focusing most of their attention on Governor Newsom's handling of the pandemic. Those who voted no very likely said that they support the way the governor handled the pandemic, including mask mandates and calls for vaccines. The most recent state data says that the local COVID-19 test positivity rate more than doubles the state's average. But not everyone wants Newsom to stay. The latest data says a majority of Kern residents voted yes on the recall effort, many blasting the governor's pandemic response. Now here's a look at what both sides are saying.
We can hopefully see less deaths, less COVID. He's mandated the mask for our protection, our safety, and we're going to beat this pandemic.
Families are struggling. We have millions of Californians, small, hard-working families who have lost their jobs due to government shutdowns initiated by the stroke of a pen by this governor.
Some voters supporting the recall say they don't believe the governor is doing enough to tackle issues like wildfires and criminal justice. Meanwhile, many who wanted Newsom to stay in office say that this recall was not worth the tax dollars. Now, it's important to note that votes are still being counted around the state, but the margin is wide enough to make most political analysts confident in Newsom's projected win. At the county elections office, Moses Small, 17 News.
All right, Moses, thank you so much. 5:35 is our time now, and to the latest on the coronavirus pandemic here in Kern County. Public Health reported nearly 500 new cases yesterday, along with 4 new deaths. More than 1,500 people here in Kern County have died from the virus since the beginning of the pandemic. At least 67 people died in August alone, making it the 7th deadliest month during the pandemic. Public Health says nearly 99% of people hospitalized with COVID-19 here in Kern County are unvaccinated.
And we're seeing a clear indication that COVID-19 is still present in our hospitals as they near a breaking point. During yesterday morning's Board of Supervisors meeting, Public Health Director Brent Kerrigan said our hospitalization numbers are projected to peak at the end of this week. The latest data from the state shows 336 people in the hospital with COVID-19 locally, another 74 in the ICU. Projections show that hospitalizations will reach the worst day on Friday through the weekend.
And these are just COVID-related hospitalizations and doesn't include hospitalizations and ICUs from all other accidents, injuries, and illnesses.
Kerrigan says with the help of the county's COVID funding, they're adding additional nurses in the ICU to help with demand. A 14-member team from the National Guard also arrived on Monday. They will be here until the need is no longer needed, which is projected to be in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
The past 2 years have been very difficult for a lot of people, but for one local couple, they were looking forward to the exciting new beginnings that 2021 had in store. Anthony and Mackenzie were high school sweethearts getting ready to start their family. Then an unexpected and tragic plot twist forever changed their story.
It's hard, you know, like nobody, I don't think anybody gets pregnant thinking like, oh, I want to be a single parent. And you know, that's just a hand that we've been dealt. And it sucks because Anthony was just so excited to be here for him.
But this love story isn't over. Tomorrow morning on 17 News at sunrise, the new chapter for one woman as she deals with the loss of her longtime boyfriend while she raises their newborn. That story tomorrow morning on 17 News at sunrise.
Your time now is 5:37. Several evacuation orders in effect for residents in parts of Tulare County due to the KNP complex fire, which continues to rage on in Sequoia National Park. Several evacuation orders are in effect for residents in the Mineral King area. Evacuation warnings include parts of Three Rivers community. A temporary emergency closure of the Case Mountain Extensive Recreation Management Area is also in place. The KNP complex fire was sparked during a lightning storm last week. More than 5,800 acres have been burned and it is 0% contained. Smoke from the wildfires can be seen from the entrance of Sequoia National Park, where park rangers aren't letting anyone in.
This weekend, you can give a furry friend a forever home during our annual Clear the Shelters event. The free event begins Saturday morning at 8 o'clock at the Bakersfield Animal Care Center and continues until all pets are adopted. Adoptions are first come, first served, so be sure to get there early. All fees are waived. Masks are required regardless of vaccine status. If you would like to fill out an application ahead of time, just head to our website, kget.com, and click on the Clear the Shelters banner. We're really excited. All of us are going to be out there. There are a lot of cats and dogs looking for a forever home, so please come out.
Yeah, again, all those fees are going to be waived. Pretty exciting. We're back here at 548 in your 17 Crime Watch. People in South Bakersfield are mourning the loss of a friendly face that blessed the community with kindness and smiles. 17's Marco Torres has the story.
Idris Halim, a 73-year-old homeless man, spent a lot of his time at the post office parking lot on Larson Lane. He was stabbed and killed in the morning of September 7th. Now, community members say the space is a lot emptier than it used to be. Halim was a regular face people saw every time they visited the post office. No matter the weather, hot or cold, he was always there. People say he was special. He was kind, sweet, and had a big heart for others.
I see him every day because I come over here to get my mail, and usually he's out here, he's waving. I had just been wondering about him because I haven't seen him out here. And, you know, when I go over there and I see the little Windex bottle and everything, and I just feel like it's sad, you know, because he was pleasant. You know, he didn't bother nobody.
Halim could be recognized immediately by his folding chair and iconic spray bottle. He could be spotted reading his Bible during slow periods in the day. Even on Sundays, Halim could be seen sitting in his chair in the parking lot of the post office.
100% be missed by the community. There's probably 10 or 15,000 regulars here that know who he is. He had a lot of regulars and friends that would stop by, just say hello to him, whether they need their window washed or not, bring him food, and he just always seemed pleasant.
Police are asking the community for help to bring Halim's killer to justice. If you know anything, you're asked to call Bakersfield Police Department at 327-7111. In studio, Marco Torres, 17 News.
A person was sent to the hospital yesterday due to a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That gunshot occurring at a popular local shooting range. Officers were called to Turner's Outdoorsman, formerly known as Second Amendment Sports, at Mohawk Street and Rosedale Highway just after 2:30 in the afternoon, and found a person with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A police department spokesperson said the person was taken to the hospital with major wounds and their condition was not immediately known.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.